This is Afroeconomics with J.B. Bryan. Afroeconomics is a strategic financial management program designed for the advancement of Black wealth in America and abroad.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
And thanks for joining us, folks. I hope you had a great weekend. Financial advisor J.B. Bryan is here. J.B., welcome back to WOL Radio.
It's great to be here, Carl, and I came to actually campaign for Kanye West. That's indeed. No, I caught you off guard, right? But
you sure did.
Well, I do, but I do think that he does have enough money to run, though. So.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Kanye doesn't care about the economy. We want to take care of some of our folks who are concerned about what's coming down the pipe, because we know for sure there's going to be a second round of layoffs and a second round of people getting fired.
Yes, unfortunately.
They're talking about a second round of checks coming from the federal government. So help us out here, Jamie. What should we be doing right now? If we're working, and two, if we're not working?
And the most important thing for us to do right now is to save our money. If you're not working, make sure that you take advantage of every opportunity to save that you can. This is an opportunity to really think like your great-grandma must have thought. Like how to make sure that I get the most out of every dollar. That's a key part of surviving and growing through this. I think that some of the strongest members of our family were those who grew up during some of the worst economic times, made less money in a year than we make now in a month, and they made it work and still ended up with money to leave behind. So yes, we are in a financial crisis for the country, and if people don't spend money, jobs will get cut. So the wise people are not going to spend money. So we can pretty much anticipate that jobs will get cut. But I want to say this again, and I hope that you'll really pick up on this, that if you don't have a job, that doesn't mean you can't generate income. I want us to focus on finding opportunities. And I really appreciate this opportunity to come back, because whenever I listen to you and I follow you on all of your social media, Carl, I always, just appreciate this opportunity to impact the people that are trying to move forward. And because all of your listeners are very intelligent, not just some, all of your listeners that I have ever met are very intelligent, hardworking, and are either retired or still working and working hard. And not a lot of you are out of work. So we do need to realize that those of you who are out of work, you are in a unique situation. And I hope that you have already applied for and have been approved for your unemployment. And if you are unemployed going into this, you really are in a specific hard financial situation, because if you weren't getting unemployment during this time, it's very hard to find a job during this time. So you have to really consider, what are my skills? How do I create opportunities for myself? And this could be the time where you think about entrepreneurship as a serious option for you. What are the things that you can sell? What are the talents that you have? Or what are the things that you are making and just giving away? Or what are the services that you provide that you haven't attached a value to? Make sure that you do generate income for yourself and build a business. And repeatedly, if you look back in time at some of the most successful businesses that exist today, if you looked at their history, they would show you that they have gone through horrible situations like this. So even those of us who are working through it, I find myself, Carl, working harder than ever, even though we're told, don't work hard, work smart. I was looking at some research last week, and this study, I think it was Business Insider, a reporter studied rich people for 5 years, and they found that the majority of the rich people actually had to work 32 years or more before they really felt financially independent. So a lot of the people who are out of work or underemployed right now have not worked 32 years. So we have to accept that we may be midway. Some of us may make it way before 32 years, but some of us might have to work 40 years before we really feel that we have enough assets that will create enough income to maintain the style of living that you want to enjoy through the rest of your life. And that's really what financial independence is. That you have the assets.
And ask you this,
yes.
JB, because we got folks who have been home for like 3 months now, and we don't know when this thing's going to end. They probably haven't achieved anything in 3 months. They, just sat home to collect the checks, and
that's a problem.
Yeah, what should they be doing these weeks?
All of these good ideas that you share every day, they have to take advantage of turning those ideas into opportunities. If you're listening, become a writer. If you're listening, become a speaker. If you're listening, turn the knowledge that you're getting into an opportunity to help more people. And that's really where the income comes from. You make income based on the amount of people that you can help and the demand for that knowledge or service that you provide. So you have to help somebody. You cannot stay inside. You have to help somebody in order to generate income, and especially in order to generate enough income that you can save some of it to accumulate assets that will actually generate income for you down the road. So what is a key asset that generates income? A business. See, we always look over that. But you can be putting in the money, even if you're getting unemployment, you should be taking that money and using as much of it as you can for generating income, creating a business that over time may net out a profit. But we realize that right now you may need all of that money to build the business. And that's why the IRS will allow you to write off the expenses that you incur in order to build that business. But if you're just sitting there at home and you're getting that income from that, even unemployment, it is taxable. So you're going to have to pay taxes on all of that. And I hope that you're withholding it, because if you don't have expenses on a business in your income, then you definitely need to be withholding income taxes, or you will receive penalties for not paying the taxes throughout the year. So be aware that a real legitimate business needs to be started while you're getting that income. And it doesn't take a lot of money to create a business. You could have old sneakers in your closet that people, when you got some old Jordans in there's someone that wants that pair of Jordans. So you go online and you put that pair of Jordans and you say, I want, and you use that. Everybody has something of value. Or you are very good at cleaning homes, or you're very good at teaching kids how to read. There's kids that don't speak English that you could teach because you speak English and you speak it well. We just need to exchange this mentality that we don't have anything to offer, and take and look at what you do and what you do well and make it into something of value. Every time you look at these cooking shows on television, and this person is a great cook, but there is the best cooks. I really believe this, Carl. The best cooks are the ones who have not connected any value to their special sauce or their beautiful lemon cake. And I remember you interviewing, I think one time, the ladies who, when they were out of work from the federal government and they had created, I think you interviewed them or something, but they they became bakers and they sold cakes. So we have to really look at this time of having income as an opportunity to, now that you have this time, how can I maximize this time and build a business? Now, that is a really valid possibility.
Right. Let me interrupt and tell you, because I just got a tweet. This tweeted and said that she heard you when you first came on, when this virus thing started, the shutdown started, and she worked on rebuilding her credit.
Great.
She said that she's rebuilt her credit thanks to you. So I just want to pass that on.
That's such a positive thing to say. And it is true. And you can protect your credit during this time. Each of the credit bureaus will allow you to check your credit now throughout this entire situation for free, as well as the annualcreditreport.com, which is always free. But make sure you take this time to do something productive for yourself. But I'm going to tell you, that sister could not have protected or built her credit during this time by making sure that she's spending more money. She didn't do that. If we asked her, what did you do? She's going to say, I cut down my expenses. I checked to see where I am. I know you have to know exactly where you are. She checked her credit report, or at least she checked her bills. Most people don't even have to check their credit report. You can look at all of your statements and see where your credit position is. But if you want to take it a step farther and make your life easy, actually find out what is out there on you. And a lot of times there's mistakes and they need to be taken off, or bad addresses, or someone else has the same name and it's not your debt. So you do need to see what's on your report. And they also need to see what's on your report, because people will use your social, take out debt, and you don't even know it's there. It's still basically, still your identity, Carl. And that's happening a lot, even to teenagers. And the teenager doesn't, until they get to college, till they find out that someone has been using their social and getting credit.
All right, hold that thought right there, JB. We got a short break, and we come back, got another tweet question for you. Folks, you want to join this conversation with JB Bryan, reach out to us. Our number is 800-450-7876. Your calls are next on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Join Afro Economics, where our Black wealth matters. Free online events and app. Discover culturally conscious investing and financial planning, credit, tax planning, insurance, and starting your own business. Call me at 1-844-522-7926. I'm JB Bryan, the creator of Afro Economics. #AfroEconomics, #JB Bryan.
And now back to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
Thanks for being with us, folks. Our guest is financial advisor J.B. Bryan. We're discussing, how to make your money work for you. Some people have got laid off, furloughed, whatever, and are at home sitting home. 3 months have gone by. You got the $1,200. You can maybe get some more later on. Haven't done anything. We had a tweeter who tweeted actually and said that she used the three months to rebuild her credit. Find all the errors in her credit and improve them. Now another tweeter, JB, says, "What are your thoughts on tithing?" They got their Trump money and they gave the 10% to the church.
That's right.
Your thoughts on tithing?
I do. I did one of my Sunday mornings. You should go to, I do a Sunday at Sunrise discussion. And one of my topics was about tithing during this time if your church is closed. And in the word in the Old Testament, it speaks about tithing and what tithing is for. So tithing, it says, is for the poor. Tithing is for the widow that can't take care of herself. Tithing is for protecting the community and providing for those who are less fortunate. So my summation of that was and is that if your church is not providing that, then the tithing is not going to what the tithing is for. If you believe, and then as the Old Testament leads into the New Testament, and then Jesus actually talked about that you don't have to focus as much on tithing, but to focus more on where your heart is when you give. That if you're not giving because you want to, then you shouldn't even give, because he wanted you to be giving in love. So your tithing is connected to where you are spiritually and where you feel that you should do. But it also should be that if the church isn't providing that, then I think you should take it upon yourself to tithe to an organization that is still feeding the homeless, that is still helping the less fortunate, because they need your contribution now. And God, being all powerful and all knowing, then your tithing, it doesn't have to go to a particular place. It's just God likes for us to be generous and to help one another. So we have to remember that he's all powerful. It's not about the record keeping at that particular institution, in my opinion. But so that's a great question. Definitely.
Yeah, and so let me ask you this: for folks who are struggling, though, should they still tithe? I guess this might be a question for the Faith Brothers.
That's right. Exactly.
Penalized if you don't tithe, and you've got money, but you've got bills.
But now we're in the times. Yes, we're in the times of the New Testament. And so that if you're following the New Testament and you're tithing, then you know that if you can't afford to do it, you don't need to do it. But there's an interesting story about how impressed Jesus was when there was this woman who gave her last cent. And he said, this person needs to be honored because what she has given is such a big part of everything she has. So it's not about the rich people who give $1 million, but they have $100 million. It's about God appreciates the person who has $1 and gives 90 cents. He appreciates the person that has $1 and gives 10 cents. But who you give it to, he's not particular about that. He's just about us helping one another. Because sometimes you are your brother's keeper. So you could be giving it so that your name gets on the wall at the church so that everybody's impressed with you. But your family, your own child, might not have what they need. And he says that if you don't provide for your own, you're worse than an unbeliever. So we have to stop who notices and who is impressed by what we're doing and focus on your relationship with God and your responsibility to your own. We really need to take care of our own. So you're right. If you don't have the money and you're still doing that, but your kids aren't eating proper food, then we have a logical God. He knows where your heart is. He knows what you will do. He knows what you can do, most importantly.
That's right.
But this time...
That's true. He knows your heart. So whatever he's doing outside, you can fool man, but you can't fool God.
That's right.
Is real.
That's right.
Well, Casey in San Diego wants to speak to us. Casey, you're on with JB.
Hi, everyone. JV, I am happy to say that I purchased the audiobook and have been listening to it and sharing it with my family. So beautiful. Thank you for that. I love it. And I was surprised that your voice was actually there. So for you to take the time out to do that for us is great.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you a question. I am in a place where I'm trying to figure out how to go about reconciling a debt, and it's an old debt. Okay. I had to have my daughter go to an orthodontist, and when we went, it's an orthodontist that we've used in the past, and the orthodontist said we had an outstanding debt, which I thought that we had paid. And about 2 years ago, we had actually worked on our credit in terms of repairing it, pulled our reports, and worked on it for probably about 9 or 10 months. And so we kept checking our report, and this particular debt was not on there. The debt is from 2014, and the orthodontist office sent me a document that said, it wasn't a bill or anything. She just sent me a document by email, and it showed the date we incurred the expense, and then 2 months later, there was supposedly sending it to a bureau.
Oh my goodness.
And then she had a number written on there for me to call the credit bureau or the collection agency, And when I called the collection agency, they did not seem to be able to locate it. So, we were able to get the services for now that we needed, thankfully, because my daughter had to have her wisdom teeth pulled. But in the meantime, I want to know how I should reconcile this debt, because I was kind of doing some research on it. I've heard people say, that debt is old. Maybe you can get it dropped or whatever, but it's only the orthodontic clinic that's asking for it, and I just want to know what should I do, since they never reported it, but they're saying they did, and it's not on my credit.
Amen. Well, that's a good sign. It's not on your credit. And what it looks like they did, because dentists are really having a hard time, So ever since we have the Affordable Care Act where, the dental coverage basically was like eliminated, for a lot of adults. So this is a very hard time for dentists. Just look at it. So that is why you're seeing this happen. And you are not the first person. A lady just called me last week and was saying that the dentist told her, come in, this is covered. All you have to pay is this. And then she paid what he said was to be paid. And then he said, oh, they didn't cover it. So now she has this huge bill. And this lady, a senior citizen, she can't even afford cable. And this was recent. So they're going, your people have gone through their invoices and they're finding anything that possibly could not have been paid, but they can't prove that you didn't pay it. So they're kind of testing you. They're testing you. And I think that this is one of those situations where you should wait it out. I wouldn't give them a dime, because if you start making payments on that, like say you send in $1, you are accepting it as true.
Okay.
So
yeah, because I went, so I said, okay, give me the paperwork for that. But in the meantime, my daughter needed the services. So we took care of the services that were at hand. Good. And hopefully we don't have an issue with my dental on the other side because we had to pay almost $1,000 out of pocket.
Yeah, because your insurance is probably paying for most of that surgery she just had. So they knew they were going to be good. You could have taken that anywhere. I would have taken it somewhere else. But because they're not looking out for you, that's ridiculous. And I mean, what business, even if I found out that a client owed me money from 2014, who in their right mind would send them that bill? I mean, how unprofessional. So,
okay. Because I was
let me jump in here for a second, ladies. Let me jump in here for a second. So how long, if they decide to put it on her credit, report it to the credit people, how long does that mean the bill starts there? She's got to wait 7 more years if she ignores it?
If she pays it, if she pays anything on that bill, that is acceptance. So right now she's saying you prove that it's a bill, because if they put that on her credit report, all she has to do is dispute it. Then they have to prove that it's a valid bill. So she is right. And then what is that, 14? We're 6 years later. You're almost to 7. So like Carl said, if you have all you have is 1 more year, and even if it was on your credit report, it would have to drop off. That's what Carl's saying. And 7 years. But
would they restart the bill? The bill
yeah. If she pays a payment, it restarts.
Okay.
That's right. Very good question. Yes.
So just hang in there and watch my credit report.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And look in your mail.
My daughter is thinking. Okay. And my daughter is thinking about starting like a business. She is bilingual, and so she was thinking about doing tutoring. Right. And so when you do that online, you were talking about writing off like printer, so she uses a printer, maybe things that she needs for her computer, maybe an application or something like that.
What's her age?
Talk about that a little bit. She is listening. She is 18.
All right, hang on, ladies. We're going to take another quick break here. I'll let JB respond to that on the other side. And stay with us, Casey. Casey's in San Diego. Folks, you too can join us. Reach out to us. Our number is toll-free. It's also worldwide. It's 800-450-7876. We'll take your calls after this quick break right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
I'm J.B. Bryan, the creator of Afro Economics, a strategic financial empowerment program based on 10 timeless financial principles like generational wealth and legacy, financial knowledge, credit confidence, entrepreneurship, self-reliance, and more. Afro Economics gives you the guidance and tools you can use to develop and sustain wealth. Check out Afro Economics on your favorite social media platforms. You will find us everywhere. Plus, enjoy my weekly Afro Economics podcast. There are many levels of Afro Economics membership, including the free online access membership level called No Excuses. So make no excuses and check out afroeconomics.com today. Powered by J.B. Bryan Financial Group, Incorporated, a registered investment advisory firm. #AfroEconomics.
And now back to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. I guess he's a financial advisor, J.B. Bryan. If you got a question about money, credit, saving money, you should be thinking about money. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. This is the real deal because we're going through a contraction. The economy is going to contract again, they say, next month. So this is a lady you need to pick her brain. It's free. You can call her up at 800-450-7876. Before we left, we're speaking with Casey. Casey's in San Diego, California. So, Casey, your question again for J.B. Bryan.
Oh, I was just asking about my 18-year-old starting a business, maybe online or just being able to deal with people like through Zoom or whatever to help with tutoring. And you mentioned that that was a good start. And so I just wanted to know a little bit about that. She is listening.
Great. I'm glad that because I never have ever thought about this. And immediately when you said this, I said, this has to be under your tax return because you have the income. So the benefit of having the business and writing off the expenses that you have in attempting to create that income is that if you have a W-2 income, it reduces if you have a loss, and you will in the first couple of years of building that business because of advertising and the office expenses and setting it up and buying the equipment, you have losses. So you're going to pay those losses, and you're the one that's providing that equipment. So you put that on as the business will fall under mom's tax return under the Schedule C, under your social, and then your daughter can work for you in that company. But knowing that if your daughter is paid out income from that company, then that is taxable to the daughter. So that is going to be, income for the daughter. So the daughter could. So that's going to be the challenge of making sure that the expenses are connected to you and the income is flowing through you and you're taking care of the daughter's living now anyway, especially if she's going to college or something like that. So you could be writing off the expenses associated with the business and take her money, her income, and put it into a retirement account for her instead of creating taxable income for her. So she would have say $1,000 of taxable income, and you take that $1,000 and you put into a traditional IRA so that she could write it off on her taxes, and it does not count against her on that FAFSA form. You know how they make you fill out whatever you have down to the last dime? The retirement accounts don't count against her. So you just take the money and flow it as a retirement contribution. But she can be like, Mama. But tell her.
That is great.
Tell her, trust you. Say, trust me. We got you, girl. We got you. He said. Yes. That
is great. And finally, I wanted to just ask a question in general about unemployment because I have heard that, thankfully, I'm not collecting unemployment, but I know people who are, and I've heard that unemployment may run out or something like that. So I didn't know if you have any any information about that. But if you do, please talk about it, and I'll take that answer off the air. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carl. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, sis. That unemployment is actually run by each state that you live in. So there could be some states that are not as financially healthy as other states, but the bulk of unemployment right now is actually being paid by the federal government because $600 that people on unemployment are getting from the federal government complements or is in addition to whatever that particular state's maximum or the maximum that you qualify for. And for most states, it's well under 600. So you might get 150 from the state each week, your state, and then 600 will actually come from the federal government. And our federal government is not, they ran out of money a long time ago. but they're still making money. So you definitely you don't have to worry about that. But she may have heard, Carl, like that the 600 is stopping at the end of the month. And they are trying to pass an extension on that to get it through December. But I still challenge us that if you get it through December, that you continue to save this money now. And, I see a lot of people partying really hard. I see a lot of people participating in a lot of schemes, like things that are telling you to put money in and you don't know exactly when you're going to be able to get that money out. That is not what you need to have. You need to have an emergency fund that is backed by the government that actually prints money. So I'm saying you need to have that your emergency fund basically needs, not even basically, it needs to be in your account at the bank. So it needs to be insured. It needs to be available without any expenses. You don't need to have an emergency fund that's tied up with 10 of your relatives and asking them, when can you get your money out because your car broke down? Don't do these things now just because you feel like you have extra money. I challenge you to be above the odds and have at least 6 months of your expenses available to you, so that if you get to December and you have followed this suggestion of saving that money, it may take you another 3 months into next year to find that job. But you will have that cushion that you developed by not spending your money now. And that is one of my key things that I wanted to make sure that I say, that you have to have a cash cushion. I want you to make sure that you set up a budget for how cheaply can I live. I want you to start focusing on what can I do myself? What are the things that I usually pay someone else to do, but now that I have time, I can do it myself. And then keep all of your money situations simple. Make sure that everything you do with your money, you know the worst case scenario, you know the best case scenario, you know how it's insured, you know if it's not insured, you know what's going to happen for you to get it back. You know that the person that you're talking to about your money is licensed and regulated, and they are a regulated person. So if something goes wrong, you can contact the government and tell them that they did something wrong. See, because if they don't have any regulation, you go to, the website. Does it say they're registered anywhere? Can you look up their name? Can you Google them? Look it up. Keep it simple. If it doesn't sound good, if it seems really complicated, don't do it, especially not now. Look at how many people. Somebody on the way here, I was checking my emails and texts, and one person told me that 4 times, this was a minister said, for 4 times in the last couple of weeks, people have approached her about putting money into some bucket or pool of money with a whole bunch of people that she does not know. Why is this happening now? It's because they know that you have extra money. And then paying less for things doesn't mean that you're being cheap, and it doesn't mean being cheap. Like, you can pay less, and this is...
Hang on a second, though,
yes.
JB. Are you saying is that a scam? Because it kind of sounds like the susu deal that the Caribbean people use.
Yes, and it's nothing like the susu. So of course they want you to think it's like the susu, but the susu is about doing things with people that you know, doing things with people who they're social, their mama, their daddy, their sister, and their brother. But now we have people saying bring in people. Then it becomes these are strangers, and it's multi-level. And why do I have to bring in someone else? And when do I get my money back? And what type of return should I expect? And who do I sue if this doesn't go in my favor? And we're not asking these questions. Who is at the top of this? Who is regulating this? And people are being recruited into doing these things, and you're going to feel really bad when your friends are mad at you because it didn't work out for them. It's going to work out for some, but it's not going to work out for most.
Are they going through the churches, or they just just friends at random?
Yeah, they can't go through the churches now because the churches are closed. So this minister's saying she's just getting calls because, the churches aren't in full swing yet. So they're just, going around asking people and emailing. But it's amazing to me is how could you put $500 into something and then ask two of your friends about $500, but if I told you, if you went to my website right now and I said sign up for $500 and I'm government regulated and everything, you still wouldn't do it. You'd go, oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. I think that we like things that are like fun. Like if it says it involves meeting with people often and you get together and sit around and drink and eat fried chicken, that we think, oh, that's going to be fun. So you're selling out your future. You're not even participating in your work retirement plan, but because you can get together and maybe hook up, meet somebody you didn't know, that you're going to put your future into that. I don't understand how many generations of us have to be bamboozled in order for us to stop blaming anything on anybody else. Because this is your hard-earned money and we just give it away. If you just give it away. If we could get back the money that we have just given away. Because the majority of people who get robbed have just given the money away. And when you go and try to even attempt to get the money back, like the only reason those people, what's his name, like Bernie Madoff, when he took $65 billion or something like that. And those people actually signed forms and told that man.
Hold that thought right there, JB. I'll let you finish that thought on the other side. And also, Jimmy in Houston wants to speak with you. Folks, you too can join our conversation with financial advisor JB Bryan. We'll take your calls after this quick break right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Join Afro Economics, where our Black wealth matters. Free online events and app. Discover culturally conscious investing and financial planning, credit, tax planning, insurance, and starting your own business. Call me at 1-844-522-7926. I'm JB Bryan, the creator of Afro Economics. #Afroeconomics, #JB Bryan.
And now back to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
And thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is J.B. Bryan. She's a financial advisor. Jimmy's holding, waiting for us in Houston. So, J.B., I'm going to let you finish your thought, and then Jimmy wants to speak with you.
Oh, I was just referring to the fact that Bernie Madoff went to jail, and he was the biggest Ponzi scheme. I mean, one of the big, I don't know. It was $65 billion, I believe, but he is in jail for 150 years. And they clamped down on him because he's regulated. Now, all of these things that our community is doing with people with no license, it's going to be determined. And one person who was logging in with us watching this discussion on YouTube, she said, named Jennifer, she says that if you Google this flower quote, she says it's a money scheme and not one positive report was found on the internet. So that's something that she knows that's called a flower. I know I've heard one thing, it was called a community fund. And then all of these, if you're willingly doing these, that's just, going to be a civic matter. That person is never going to get any real time, even if all of you get in on that and say, you took my money, they're going to say, well, I told them we were just all in somebody else didn't put in their money and such and such happened. You don't have any protection. It's basically like going to the doctor and you know that doctor is not licensed. But you went to them and they have this sign on the door that says, I am not a licensed doctor, but I'm going to take out your appendix anyway. Sign here. And you do that, you cannot sue them for malpractice because they don't practice. They just said it. They told you. So, and even though because of the government protection, when you're dealing with someone regulated, everyone that was dealing with Bernie signed a form that said, I'm smart enough to know what I'm doing, and I am entitled to invest my money any kind of way. So they don't have that type of protection, literally, but they shouldn't. But the government said a Ponzi scheme does not fall under that protection. You are wrong. You're a liar. You took these people money. There was no way for them to know any better. And they believed in you. I mean, people would beg to invest with him. He would say, let me see your information. I'll call you back. And that's what we're doing. Like, we're just like begging to be a part of this. Yes. So
if you can show up an answer, we'll appreciate it. As mentioned, Jimmy's been holding for a while. He's on line 3. He's calling from Houston. Jimmy, you're on with JB.
Hi, Jimmy.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hello. Right. How you doing? You doing?
Great.
All righty. You remember me when I told you that I took out $50,000 out of my TSP?
Yes.
Yeah, I borrowed out of that to pay off my credit cards, right? Because so what I was going to ask you is, I know you were talking about the importance of savings because that's an asset. But do you see the importance of credit, the credit limit? Like, that's also an asset. As long as you're not in debt with it, just sitting there on the side, almost like being credit rich because, you heard Dave Ramsey, his technique. Do you think his technique is kind of a little outdated because he don't encourage credit card, but and maybe because it's white privilege and he gets born into money, but the regular average day people, I think if we can use credit to actually leverage, credit as leverage just as we use money as leverage to actually make us more money. Just as, like you say, a person starting up a business.
It's first of all, thank you, because thank you for reminding me, Jimmy, that took the money out of the retirement account, and I didn't and still don't think that it's a good move to take loans on your retirement account, even though you did pay off high interest debt. And 2 reasons, because if for some reason they cut back, you lose your job and you have to, they will force you to pay back all of that loan all at one time, or it all becomes taxable income the year that you have to leave the company. And then the second point is that the credit cards are not collateralized. So you're taking an asset that is your collateral, and you're using it to pay off something that really you can literally walk away from. But now you've spent your real money, your real retirement has gone in to pay off something that's not real. Now, it would hurt your credit score if you didn't pay it back, but it won't hurt anything but your credit score. But your house, like, just say something happens and you need that $50,000 to live because you're disabled and disability won't approve you because it's 2 years. And now, and anything, I don't know. And you need that $50,000. You can't get to it, and you've paid off something that it has really no value, because the credit card companies can only hurt your credit, but they can't put you in prison. They can't come take your car. They can't put you out your house because it's non-collateralized. That's why the interest rate on it is so much higher. But
but that's why I say that. But that's why I say the credit is so powerful, because I really didn't do all. What I did was invest. It's like I transferred my $50,000, put it over there in my credit, and now because if I was to lose my job and I had to pay $50,000, I actually got over $50,000 in credit limit because I want to.
But then you got to take it back, man. Then you got to take it back, and the interest rate will be higher. You're gonna have to take it back out.
But because I did that, I'm actually building my savings account is building daily, as though it wasn't able to do that at first, because I say with credit, you got 3 parts. You got the credit score, which I told you I'm a credit score, but then you got your credit limit, which I got a hell of a credit limit, but then you got your actual credit report. So what I'm talking about...
But you know what you're doing. You're being complicated. And getting rich in this world, not just the United States, is not complicated. But you have to keep it simple. Like, everybody always wants to think that they're somehow missing something. But it's not that complicated. Like, what you're doing is everything that you're saying has to work out just right, just the way you said it. But as an investment advisor, a good investment advisor should be working with you from a worst case scenario. And that's what I'm saying. That I'm going to give you advice in order for you to be happy. So then I'm going to say, look, that is not collateralized. They can't come and get it. So we're going to get there and we're going to pay the minimum payment on that. And you're going to do the maximum savings if you need to have the savings. And then I know that a person who pays off their debt all of a sudden like that is above average likely to go back in debt again. Look at the research, Jimmy. Like, that balance will start inching up on you. And you're like, what in the world? I got $10,000 on that card again? How did that happen? And repeatedly, and this is not an opinion. Look at the research. A person who pays off their credit card debt by getting it from somewhere else or even by refinancing their home is very likely. That's why most mortgages, when they make you do that, they'll make you close the card because they know the person will go back. Like you said, well, what happens if I lose a job? I'll just go right back up in there and do it, right? Then now you got no job and you have, you know what I mean, that loan that you paid off and that credit card. So that when that money should have just been in your retirement, hiding from taxation until you were 70 or something and had, you know what I mean? And it was just there for you. But I'm only dealing from a perspective of if you're regularly having someone to talk to, because you're like most people. We don't have anyone to talk to. Like you were saying, some strange man that doesn't even know you, we get advice from. You know, when we start, you're like, how does this man doesn't know me? He don't live in my world. So we use that, you know, we can easily use that as an excuse. Like he's more privileged than me. He obviously doesn't have the problems I have. But he does.
Short because we got a bunch of folks want to talk to you, Jimmy.
Great.
You can continue the conversation. We'll give you the information so Jimmy can call you later.
Great,
800-450-7876. Mr. Fahim is calling us on line 2 from Atlanta. Mr. Fahim, you're on with J.B. Bryan.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I have 3 questions, and they're all related. Mm-hmm. First, let's start with this economy and the budget that this our country usually have. This budget that they leverage the other party about, the budget crashing and all of that. And we borrowing this money from China or whatever. So we haven't heard any of that. And we're just printing money and sending it out. Mm-hmm. Now, let me get to my second part of this. During the Obama administration, when the banks crashed and they came to the government, they were allowed under the Obama administration to take the money from our savings and our checkings account without our permission. Is that correct?
I don't know of that, but if you saw that written, you know it's their reserve, so they have to keep a certain amount of cash reserve. All banks have to, and the Federal Reserve can control how much money they have to have in reserve. But that is the reason that they, have this requirement now of only taking out a certain amount, right? Like we can only withdraw a certain amount in a day. So that's how they control how much they have on deposit. It's amazing to me, right? Here go. You got to write a check. You got to find your checkbook quick and go out there and get that if you want more than $300, out of your account. But that has helped them so much by knowing how much money they're going to have overnight each day, so that because they make money on switching money and switching it between banks or just overnight.
Right there, JB. We got to take a short break right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
I'm J.B. Bryan, the creator of Afro Economics, a strategic financial empowerment program based on 10 timeless financial principles like generational wealth and legacy, financial knowledge, credit confidence, entrepreneurship, self-reliance, and more. Afro Economics gives you the guidance and tools you can use to develop and sustain wealth. Check out Afro Economics on your favorite social media platforms. You will find us everywhere. Plus, enjoy my weekly Afro Economics podcast. There are many levels of Afro Economics membership, including the free online access membership level called No Excuses. So make no excuses and check out afroeconomics.com today. Powered by J.B. Bryan Financial Group, Incorporated, a registered investment advisory firm. #AfroEconomics.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
And thanks for staying with us, folks. Let's finish up with J.B. Bryan. J.B. is a financial advisor, and J.B. was speaking with Mr. Fahim in Atlanta. So, Mr. Fahim, can you give your questions real quick for J.B.?
Sure. There were three things. Mm-hmm. One is the fact that the government's spending all of this money without a budget, just spending all they want. The next thing is that under Barack Obama, he gave the banks the ability to take the money that they have that we put into the bank without our permission. And you just spoke to that. And the third thing is, I've heard that we're in a recession or retraction. And if all of those things are the case, shouldn't we be stashing as much as we can in our homes or outside the bank? Because if the bank decides to take our money, we're just stuck. And this is why I'm sounding the alarm over the radio, because if all of our money in the bank and the grid go down, or they decide that they're not going to give any money, they're going to keep it, we're between a rock and a hard place. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, your accounts are actually very insured. Like in my brokerage accounts, just to say that a client has a brokerage account, they actually can have FDIC insured cash and SI, security investor protection, on their broke. So the insurance is there, but they can limit. Like, I remember at 9/11, for the first time in my career, I saw them stop the stock market. And then I realized we are not in charge of things at all. I mean, they closed down the exchanges because everybody was selling so quickly. And then I realized, like, this really isn't capitalism. Because in capitalism, you got to let it go. I mean, if everything was supposed to be sold that day, it was supposed to be sold that day. If we were supposed to, but it doesn't work that way. So you are right. Like, the government can shut that down and control how many withdrawals happen in that particular day. But at some point, it does have to be open and your money is protected. It's not like in the past where we didn't have the FDIC insurance, but there is a maximum amount of FDIC insurance, but we're talking about $250,000, so let's, and then on in your investment accounts, it's much higher. Like, but that doesn't guarantee your losses though. It just guarantees your protection from the investment house. But your losses, as far as the volatility in the market, no, are not. So be careful in knowing that. But keep cash at home. You're right, sir. Keep cash at home.
On line 4, calling from Stone Mountain in Georgia. Rita, your question real quick for J.B. Bryan?
Yes, thanks for taking my call. My question, this is a very quick question. My question is in reference to cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. Yes. What is your take on that as far as adding that particular product to your portfolio?
A person would have to be like extremely wealthy and well diversified across all of the other asset classes before I think they should even consider investing in something that you don't even know what it is. Like, we don't have any evidence of how much Bitcoin actually exists, where it is, who holds it, who are the owners, and everything. But I know one thing, that the United States government knows when you have it, and the United States government is one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin because of how much they have confiscated from people in illegal activity. So there is a lot out there, but the government cannot sell theirs. So I know that there's going to be a big change when Congress finally says you got to get rid of it, and we really don't care what price you sell it at, because there are big positions. So be very careful and realize the risk exposure that you are exposing yourself by getting into something that, again, is not regulated by our government. I mean, you're even in just the stock market, what we're talking about and what the brother was just talking about, and how much your cash is protected and stuff like that. We really, if you, on a scale of 1 to 10, things that we should worry about, if you're talking about Bitcoin, 1 to 10, that's like 10 and a half. And worrying about your cash in a bank, should be -1. Like, that should be no worry. But it's interesting that I don't know why, but there are a lot of people that feel more comfortable with Bitcoin than they do with the money in their checking account. They really think that Bitcoin is more secure. What's going on with that? And it's not private.
Jimmy, we got to run because we're just out of time.
Great.
I thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Folks who didn't get a chance to ask you questions or want more information, JB, how can they reach you?
1-844-JBBRYAN, or go to afroeconomics.com or jbbryan.com. Click contact. I'd be happy to talk to you extensively. Everybody except for Jimmy. I'm just joking. No, Jimmy's a nice person. Now, he got his complimentary consultation and called back to talk about it again. He didn't like my answer. He said, you might not like my answer, but I promise I'll tell you the truth. Call me 1-844-JB-BRYAN. The truth shall set you free.
All right. Thanks, JB.
Thank you. Today's podcast was powered by JB Bryan Financial Group, a registered investment advisory firm and the home of Afro Economics in Virginia, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and New York.